All right, and I guess I am live. This is the first time that I've ever done a live broadcast on Google Air. So, yeah, I'm just learning how to use this. But today, what I really want to talk about, by the way, my name is Scott Engler. I am the author of The Job Interview, Legends of the Recruiting and Career World, and just finished up a publication that is yet to be launched. It's called Job Seeker of the 21st Century, and I just finished up with a university edition of that book. So what I want to talk to you today, I guess, as you can see by the title, it says, maybe I'm wrong, but here's why I think most universities don't give a shit about their students. And I have had in the past 8 years, as I've been researching and writing publications on contemporary job search strategies, I've really developed a passion to help university graduates be able to get the career that they were going after upon graduating. And just a little bit about me, one of the reasons that I feel so passionately about this is because when I first started experiencing a lot of my own difficulties with finding work, it was when I was in grad school back in 2008. And I had such a hard time finding any type of position, even an internship when I was in there. And during that time, and even after graduating, I just went through this really long period where I couldn't find anything within my industry. And even when I did find something within my industry, it was the pay was just awful. There was no way I could actually survive on that pay living in Los Angeles, let alone start to pay back my student loans. So the reason that I'm posting this today is because over that time, and as I wrote my first publication, I really wanted to collaborate with universities and help either do some type of workshops or even have my publication there at the career development department. Because what I found, and the reason I wrote the job interview to begin with, was because at that time, this was back 2010, 2011, I really couldn't find any contemporary literature on how to find a job in the contemporary job search. And at that time, as some of you may be aware, not only did we have the economy crisis, but we also just had such a rapid increase in our technology, and things became more and more automated. And then there was these, soon companies started using what's called applicant tracking systems, or referred to commonly as ATS, where they're scanning over keywords, and basically if you didn't have the right words, your resume wasn't even going to make it past this ATS machine. So as I was learning so many different things about why I was experiencing my own frustration in the job search, I really wanted to help anyone I could, but I also just had a sincere desire to help students that were about to graduate. And when I started reaching out to universities, I was really frustrated because in all cases, they were more than happy to have me come in for free and lecture, which at first I had no problem doing, but unfortunately, I run my own business, so I can't go driving around the country speaking at universities for free, as much as that does sound kind of fun if it was paid for. But when I would speak to people that were either the head of career development department or some type of faculty, and I expressed why I wrote the book, I expressed what my experiences were going to graduate school, and how I couldn't find anything, and how I didn't feel like I had the any type really of assistance or support in finding work. I would find those people that would agree with me without saying that, but what I found each time was that as soon as anything that was somewhat innovative or new got addressed to anyone higher than them, it was shot down. And while I'm somewhat familiar about how bureaucracy works and how sometimes, even the best intentioned people don't have the ability to make decisions, it doesn't take away from the fact that it pissed me off. And the reason that I'm sharing today is because let's fast forward about 3 or 4 years now. I just finished putting together it. I finished it 2 months ago now. It's called Job Seeker of the 21st Century, the University Edition. Now, I've spent the last 4 years getting interviews with students across the nation that were able to find the job or position or career that they actually wanted. And the reason I did this was because I really wanted to highlight on the success stories, because there's so many of the opposite stories, and those stories involve students being in extreme amount of debt, working 2 to 3 jobs, moving in back with their parents, and that is the more common story. And I know I put it on earlier, I'm not sure if it posted up, but back in 2014, the statistic is that 17% of the university graduates across the nation were finding jobs within their industry. And that's a really, really, really low percentage, 17%. So out of 100 bright, sharp, optimistic students paying a lot of money and their time to go to these universities, 17 of them, and that's probably optimistically speaking, getting the career they wanted. Maybe they got a full-time job. So, those statistics, they call them a white collar job. So my understanding of that is getting a full-time job. Now, when I was in graduate school, which wasn't that long ago, I remember being appalled because all of us were given a sheet to find an internship. Now, this internship was part of our practicum, and we had to find an internship and get a certain amount of hours in order to graduate. The internships were 99% of them were unpaid. Now, we had this list, and I think it was updated in 2003, but regardless of when it was updated, I would, honest to God, say half of the contacts that they had on this sheet. Now, this was like in 2009 when I got this sheet. Half of them were a disconnected number, or the person of contact didn't work there anymore. And it was so frustrating. I remember going to the admin office because, of course, I wasn't the only one that got this sheet. And all the students were all like, how are we supposed to find an internship when, the resources that they're giving us to find these internships are void and bunk? And of course we could search on our own, but when you're going to school full-time and working and you're paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get your education somewhere, and they give you this sheet, it's like, who is in charge of making sure that they're actually giving us legitimate contacts? So part of those experiences have really shaped what I've heard and seen goes on. Now, I'm not here to make something black or white and say all universities are like this. And I certainly know for a fact that there's plenty of faculty and people that actually do care about their students and their students' success. So that I just want to be clear of, that when I say universities, I'm not trying to label anyone really. Well, I guess universities, yeah, but I'm not trying to make an all-encompassing judgment on all the staff. I'm saying what I've seen as far as whoever is in charge of making decisions for the best interest of their students. Now, more recently, which is what just is re-triggering this for me, is I spent the last 4 years, as I was saying, making a book, Job Seeker of the 21st Century, the University Edition. And I had tremendous support from industry experts such as Dick Bowles, who wrote What Color Is Your Parachute, which is the #1 best-selling book of all time. Now, this guy's 89 years old and took, 30, 40 minutes out of his day to talk to me, to share information to help our next generation. And you have people like JT O'Donnell and Miles Jennings of recruiter.com, JT O'Donnell of Career Realism, and several others that are really prominent and influential in their field that saw the value in what I was wanting to do and had no problem, dedicating their time and contributing to this book. And I got some miraculous stories from all sorts of students of different industries and different parts of the country. So it was amazing to hear their stories, and most of them were in the last 3 to 5 years that have graduated and were able to land the job that they actually wanted. So that's been my goal, is to highlight their success stories. Now, once I finish this book, my vision is to have it in all sorts of different universities. I mean, not just in this country, but these stories could be helpful around the world. But of course, I want to start in my own backyard and with the people that I already knew. So I've already reached out to 3 people where I've lectured at all 3 of these schools, and I know either someone on the faculty or someone on the staff or someone on the board at all of these schools. And I proposed, and I sent them copies of this book, and I proposed that this book be placed either in the career development department or be put into vocational type courses to have for the students to really look at. And some of these universities actually had kids from their school that had just graduated within the last few years. Now, my other offer, and what I really mean, is I would want to give back a percentage of my book sales, a pretty generous percentage, and I really wanted to go back to the career development department or something that is set up to help students get the jobs when they graduate. So like what happened at my grad school, where there's a sheet of half numbers that are disconnected and the point of contact doesn't work there, that's just unacceptable. I mean, you're paying $50,000, $100,000, whatever you're paying to go to a university. You should be getting excellent type of treatment. That's just unacceptable in any type of business. And the fact that it would happen at a university where you're paying a lot of money is just what makes me so upset, these kind of things. So I would want part of the book sales to go back to making sure that maybe they have to hire another staff member to help with the recruiting process. Maybe they just have one person that handles that and is in charge of that area, making sure that they have different contacts at different companies and different industries, and making sure that their students are really set up for success. So as I reached out to these schools before the book was published, I sent them copies of the book and explained what my vision was. And mind you, these are schools that I've spoken at. They've had me speak at each of these universities. So it's not that they don't know who I am. And each time it's just like, shut down, we can't do it. The worst was going to the career development department, walking in personally at a university, and I'm not going to name names of these universities, but walking into the career development department and saying, hey, look, this book I'm going to be lecturing at here at the university, this is a true story. And, 2 of the students in the book are going to be, 2 of the students that went to your school are going to be actually in the book. One of them is graduating this year. One of them graduated last year. And I invited them to come to the lecture, invited to connect with them and explain more. I told them what I wanted to do, how I wanted to give money back to the career development department. And just like, they didn't care. They don't care. And, it's so upsetting to see that. And especially you wonder why, it's one thing to be maybe an outsider and not work in that specific industry and be indifferent, but it's another thing to be working for the university. That's your job, that's your career, is to work with our next generation, to help them, and to be that indifferent. And it just makes me so sad and so angry that people could just be that indifferent about, I look at our youth and I just see so much promise. I see just these kids that are so bright and optimistic about their future. And, I feel like there's a lot of them, have this, they're naive to what's really out there for them when they graduate. And, part of what I do when I lecture and talk to them is, of course, I love supporting them and finding out what they're really passionate about and what they want to do. But I also am taking the time to be honest with them about what the facts are right now, because otherwise they're just going to be in for such a rude awakening. And that's what seems to be happening is they're going through this, it's like this cloud of denial where the university is like, oh, just come here. We'll take care of you. You're going to get a great job. This is the place to be, give us thousands of dollars. And then they leave and they're in tons of student debt. Student debt, as far as last year, it tripled in the last 8 years. Tripled in the last 8 years. And so with statistics like that, you wonder why the schools aren't just so eager when I, and this isn't even about me, but when there's a tool that not only that I've spent years putting together, but that has the support and backing of people like Dick Bowles, people like JT O'Donnell. These aren't people that don't know what they're talking about. So when you have that kind of support and backing, and to not have schools at least wanting to know a little bit more about it and, strongly considering it, it makes you wonder if they really give a shit. And I know firsthand from 2 of these 3 schools that they're not doing well with their conversion rates for students getting jobs. In fact, I was speaking to one of the people that reports to the board at the university, and this person was telling me that they looked over the conversion rates for last year and they were awful. Now, she didn't give me any direct numbers, but she said they were awful. And what makes me even more upset than the fact, this isn't about me. This isn't about, oh, publish my book because it's so great. This is about the bigger picture and our next generation. And what it really is about is, if you are seeing this kind of destruction or this kind of just, the student debt crisis, and you're seeing these horrible numbers of your students' graduation conversion, getting jobs, what else are you going to do? What are you going to do differently? That's my question. I could care less if you take my book and put it in classes or not. I think it's a great tool and, very contemporary. Like I said, all the students whose stories are in there have been within the last 3 to 5 years, most of them even more recently. So I spent a lot of time making sure I got really quality stories that were new, so it could really inspire the students. But regardless of if it's my work or not, what are you going to do? If you turn down my idea and I'm offering to give money back to these departments to help the students, what are you going to do differently? You could reject my idea, and that's fine, but let me know what you plan on doing differently so these students are set up for success. And I'm all ears, and I'd be happy to help any way I can. And that's the thing. It's not about me and my book. This is about our next generation. And that's what just ticks me off, is if you don't have a solution, why are you so against hearing someone that has an alternative solution? Because I don't think most of them care. They just care about, a lot of them, it seems like they care a lot more about their sporting programs. And again, I have nothing against sports. I love, college sports are fun to watch, but is that really all there is to life? And if you're an educator and you're in higher education, it just makes me question their integrity and what they want for their students. And from my standpoint, it seems like they seem more concerned with how they're going to make the same amount of money that they made the year before, and how they're going to increase rates of tuition, how they're going to increase rates of room and board, how they're going to increase. One thing was, I remember San Diego State, and I remember hearing 5 years ago that they charged an absurd amount for the gym membership. And I remember when I had applied, I got accepted at SDSU, the gym membership was included. And so it's like colleges are just it's like they're taking more from you and giving you less. They keep taking more and more and giving less. And I'm just sick and tired of hearing that. And I really wanted to just speak up today because I hope someone's watching that is aware of this too. And what could we do together as a country to help our next generations of students thrive and not drown like what I continue to see. So that's really all I got today. I am happy to answer any questions. I don't see any right now, but for now, that's all I got. Thanks.